Most things that you experience are in the spirit realm, but this happened physically right in front of me. So at the time, I was smoking some questionable stuff, right? And I knew God wanted me to quit. I had just quit drinking. I had my bad experience with alcohol poisoning, but I was still kind of smoking. And I just feel like God just really wanted me to let go of anything that was keeping me from Him. I remember sitting there in my car. Everybody was gone. And I was preparing my cigarette. And I'm looking around and I just felt like someone was watching me. All of a sudden, I look to my left and I see this. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever read the stories of the Bible and thought to yourself, why doesn't this stuff happen today? Why doesn't this stuff happen to me? Well, what if I told you it does happen today and it can happen to you? I'm talking about dreams and visions, encounters with God Himself. But here's the real question. How bad do you want it? Jesus said these simple but powerful words in Matthew 9:29. According to your faith, be it unto you. It's time to start believing that He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
A spirit in the woods.
So in my last video, I shared about my first angel encounter when I was a kid with the Guardian. And I'm going to put a link on the screen if you haven't seen that one yet, but this one is quite a bit different because this one happened when I was an adult. This was probably hands down the most memorable experience I think I've had. I've had a lot of visions, a lot of dreams, a lot of experiences with God, with Jesus Himself. And again, we're going to have an infinite amount of videos because I've had so many experiences, and I know there's going to be more. This one was so unique because I had never seen anything with my physical eyes before. Most things that you experience are in the spirit realm, but this happened physically right in front of me. Like if I was, staring at this lamp I'm looking at right now, it's the same thing. I saw it so crystal clear and I'll never forget. So this happened back when I was living in my hometown. I was working at this restaurant that's not there anymore, but I was working at this restaurant and I would work there sometimes until 11 or 12 at night. We were closing, cleaning, and I was usually the last one to leave. So at the time, I was smoking some questionable stuff, right? And I knew God wanted me to quit. I had just quit drinking and I had my bad experience with alcohol poisoning, but I was still kind of smoking. And I just feel like God just really wanted me to let go of anything that was keeping me from Him. I remember sitting there in my car. Everybody was gone. And I was preparing my cigarette. And I'm looking around and I just felt like someone was watching me. And I start looking around and there's nobody there. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I'm out in the woods. Everybody's gone. I'm the only car in the parking lot. Nobody would be there, right? But I just kept feeling somebody was watching me. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking around and I'm just like, I can't shake this feeling, and I keep wanting to light this cigarette, but I'm like, what if somebody's here? And I didn't normally get paranoid, but I was paranoid that time. And I'm not making this up. This is going to sound crazy, but I'm not making this up. All of a sudden, I look to my left and I see this person floating in the trees. And it was a white figure. There was no face. It's almost like, I'm going to share a picture that I found that was the closest thing that I've found. I've been looking for something for years, and I'm going to share this picture that I found. This kind of what it looked like. Now, this picture is actually, I think, a picture of Jesus. I don't know if it was Jesus. It's almost like a portal opened and there was someone there. But the crazy thing is, even though there was no face, there was no nothing, I could feel them staring at me, and I was staring at. We had our eyes locked, even though they didn't technically have eyes. And I absolutely froze. I wasn't scared. I just didn't know what I was seeing. And we stared at each other probably for a good 10 seconds. So we live obviously in a 3D dimension, but it was almost like the being was on a 2D plane. It was like flat. It looked like it was cut out of a flat surface. And it's kind of like those reels where you see the old tape reels start melting and the light shines through. That's what it looked like. And I remember staring at it, and all of a sudden, it was floating there, right through the woods, disappeared. Needless to say, I took that cigarette, licked it out the window. I drove all the way home thinking to myself, what just happened? Now, a lot of people are going to say, man, you were already high. Again, just got off work. I wasn't, at all. If it was after, that would be a little more of an excuse, I guess. But I'm driving down the mountain and I get home and I'm thinking about this and I'm praying, God, what just happened? What did I just witness? Well, the next day, my cousin, if you've watched My Haunted House, I'll put a link up here if you haven't seen it yet. I mentioned my cousin Jesse a lot throughout that. He comes over to my house the next day. And again, we've been through a lot of experiences together, and he wasn't sure how he felt about a lot of this stuff. And I told him about this being that I saw in the woods. And of course, I don't think he believed me at all. Most people probably wouldn't. But I knew what the Bible says. It says, signs follow the believer. So I told him, if you go with me, you'll see it too. I mean, that was some bold faith, and I was hoping that what I was saying was going to come to pass. So finally, I convinced him to go. We drove all the way up on the mountain to my work. We were there for a couple hours. Nothing happened. We drove up on the mountain. Nothing happened. I think we had got up there when it was still daylight, and it started getting darker. We drove up on the mountain to one of the overlooks, and we're just talking and hanging out, and I'm just praying inside God. I told him, you're going to be here. I told him, you're going to be here. I told him, you're going to be here. This has got to happen. So after a long period of time, we're both ready to head home. We get back in the car and we're driving back down the mountain. And again, I'm praying, God, please show up. I told him you'd be here. So we're driving down the mountain and we're just talking. And then all of a sudden, this light being goes flying over our windshield. It's just so funny too, because I remember sitting there and I looked over at him and he doesn't even look at me. He's just driving. And I'm like, did you see it? And he's just staring at the road. I hate you. So we get home and I don't even remember what our conversation went like. I just remember this moment or these moments so crystal clear. I don't know why it happened, but I know that God, again, wants to interact with his children. He wants to show you that he's there. And he couldn't have made it any more clear. I have no excuse anymore. I know that God is there. I have no excuse. After seeing something like that, now some of you may say, it was aliens. I seriously doubt it was aliens. Aliens don't want nothing to do with me. I think if they were to try to take me and examine me, they would be disappointed in about 5 seconds. They'd be like, nope, we got the wrong one. Actually, it'd be more like, beep, boop, beep, boop, boop, beep, boop, beep. This is getting weird. Could you imagine, though? Could you imagine just sitting there and then seeing an angel or whatever it was just floating in the sky staring at you? Again, God wants to show you that he's real. He wants to show you that he loves you. And all I can say is start reading the Bible, seeking God, right? I mean, it's really that simple. Draw near to me and I'll draw near to you. It's really that simple. It's up to you if you want to know. Most people don't want to do the work to encounter God or really to change anything, any habits or anything. They just don't want to do it. And it's totally your choice. But if you want to know the truth, you have to put in a little work. You're not working for salvation. Salvation's free. But to really change your life and grow close to God takes effort. Now, since we're on the topic of questionable cigarettes, I'm going to tell you another story in the next video about the force field. This was another crazy spiritual experience that I had. You're just going to have to watch the video. It was just such an amazing experience because it was terrifying, but it showed me how much we are loved by God and how protected we are by God, but we're so used to it we don't realize it until it's taken away. And in that moment it was taken away, and I don't wish this on anybody, but I'm going to share the story with you, so hopefully you can avoid this. So I'll see you next week, and God bless. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. If this is something you enjoyed, if you would, just like the video. Listen, these stories are true, and I really, really believe that God desires to interact with his children. All you have to do is believe and seek him with all your heart. And I also want to add, I've got a link here on the screen. If it doesn't pop up, it's in the description. But I had a few years where I was obsessed with the demonic realm, which I don't recommend. But the stories that I share show how God showed me the truth of what these things were, and He delivered me from these evil spirits and from myself. So if that intrigues you, check it out. I got a playlist up here, and if that's not your thing, that's cool. Stick around because I got more videos coming.